That's why I found out how much is the price of her one-room flat. Your guess?
Per month.
800.
Per month.
$200.
She pays $60 a month.
Is Singapore's COVID management out of control? This is your daily catch-up.
Same lah.
That's not
Same
bad.
right?
That's not bad. My job security is at risk.
No, I don't have base.
This is your daily catch-up.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying the Daily Catch-up podcast, remember to drop us a sub and hit that notification button.
I'm a notification button.
So last week there was an article about a 60-year-old woman who had to isolate because she was COVID positive. But because she was homeless, she had to basically isolate herself next to hawker centers like rubbish bin. Yeah. Wow, it's honestly really heartbreaking.
Wait, why wasn't she sent to like a facility?
Yeah, so this goes back to quite a number of people who are kind of not really complaining. Well, they are lah, so they're complaining. Let's just be straight up about it. Like quite a lot of people have been complaining that since the recent spike in cases, there hasn't been very clear instructions on what they need to do. Because people who are vaccinated get to isolate at home. She's vaccinated, problem is she doesn't have a home.
Right.
I think the problem is that you cannot be homeless in Singapore, right?
What do you mean you cannot?
I don't think you're allowed to be homeless.
Huh?
Which
Really?
means the government is taking on the responsibility that if you are homeless, like if it's a domestic issue, like you're not allowed to go and be homeless, go and fix your domestic issue. And if you are for some reasons find yourself homeless, then there are social support that will home you.
Yeah, so there are shelters. So actually I was quite surprised by the numbers. There are about somewhere between 900 to 1,000 people who are homeless in Singapore. And there are, I think, about 21 temporary shelters.
Oh.
The problem is that all these shelters are full, and the wait list is like at the hundreds at the moment.
Right.
But yeah, so you're right. She's homeless because of a domestic issue. So she mentioned that she is estranged from her husband, and so she hasn't been home in years.
Wow.
And then people at this Toa Payoh hawker centre who live in this area in Toa Payoh have said that she's a familiar face for the last 10 years already. She wanders around that particular hawker centre, I guess, as her place of dwelling, essentially.
Right.
I don't know how else to describe it.
The place of dwelling.
It's a damn sad story then.
I know. Members of the public realized that this was happening. They contacted the police. The police reached out to her and find out what the situation was. And they brought her to an isolation facility. So,
Faith in humanity.
yeah. I mean, we don't know whether she's been discharged or whatnot, but she has a bed to sleep on.
She's
Oh my god, that's
isolated
like the first bed that she can sleep on in years. Is the isolation facilities. Yeah.
Yikes.
Sorry, I just brought the mood down. Like,
Yeah, that's
what-
Yeah.
As in, I think what kind of maybe confuses me a bit is that like she has a house to go back to, right? Like she's arguing.
That her husband lives in.
Yeah, because I've read this quite interesting article about homelessness in Singapore, talking about how a lot of people who are homeless in Singapore choose to be homeless.
Yeah.
Like they have a house, but they want to rent it out and earn the rent. Then they choose to be homeless. Yeah. They want to earn the house money, so they go out
Choose
and
to
live on
live
the
in the
street.
street.
Imagine making $2,000 a month and sleeping in a void deck, huh?
Yeah.
It's like the dumpster
earning-
diver.
This
But
is
you
what
got
fire
passive
is,
income.
Wait, what? Just rent out a room lah.
Are they happier than us, you think?
But you rent whole house, more
Wow,
money.
then next, now you make me damn sus of homeless people. If they ever ask me for money, I was like, sure no.
Dude, you making more than me.
Yeah
You're renting a
lah.
terrace, dude.
Okay, no, but it's not everyone. But there
course, yeah
are
lah.
there are like numerous
you need to-
people. There are numerous people. That
Maybe right, like people always say like, there's no homelessness in Singapore. It's because they all dress all damn nicely. They don't look homeless. But it's crazy. So
So the homeless people in Singapore are fucking rich.
yeah, they're bowling.
that's the title of the video.
Yeah. What do you do? I'm homeless.
Here's my business card.
I've never met a homeless person in Singapore. Yeah. Like I've never talked to one. Oh, okay, maybe I have.
Really,
I just don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's hard to recognize because like you
And my
go-
curfew 12 a.m. So maybe they only sleep outside after that.
like plus you live overseas like sorry. Like cause I've lived overseas.
Oh my god, then we know that.
So I've been to Australia, right? I've lived there and also I've visited like, UK, right? Like even though you think
Some more
first world
countries you
country,
visited.
like first world country, right? There's so many homeless people.
Yeah.
You know, and you go to the city streets, right? Every corner you turn, right? There's someone who's homeless there and it's very obvious what it looks like, right?
Oh.
You don't get that in Singapore, I guess, in some sense.
Yeah.
I guess that's why it's quite hard to recognize whether someone's homeless or not.
But I can see one like at night HDB estates all you go and walk around, right?
Where are they? What are they doing? Are they
But I think half of them is just avoiding their wife, eh?
They are like sleeping on like benches.
right?
I thought our bench already designed not to be slept on.
Is it?
Slept on.
Yeah.
That's why there's that bar in the middle.
Oh.
They disguise it as an armrest.
Yeah,
So just sit with your knees up.
Bloody hell! I didn't know that.
Even like MRT seats now, they create jaggings and they don't really need to portion it. Actually, more people can sit if
Portion.
you don't portion it. Yeah, but now they divide according to butt so you cannot sleep
Oh,
properly.
I thought it was for my ergonomics, like feel better. Wow,
Few personal space or that.
so sad, huh?
It's interesting. So like, because in Singapore, right, like home ownership is so attainable if you have.
He struggled with this
Like,
sentence.
I don't want to say this to seem privileged, but like in
You are.
no, because okay,
Marry a woman.
if you are in a first world country like in the West, home ownership is seen like a goal because it's so hard
Yes,
to
yes.
attain it, right? But I feel like with the whole BTO scheme, right, like you don't have to earn. I remember signing up for it with Nat, and like we weren't earning much at that point in time when we managed to own a home.
Yes,
Granted, I was lucky I had a professional office job. Not many people have that option, right?
Right.
But they also have like rental schemes, right? Like rental flats.
Yeah.
Like one room
Oh,
rental flat.
I had an auntie actually. He stays in a one-room flat, and then I found out how much is the rent because her husband passed. I've never met her husband. Like I think divorced plus passed away a long time ago. I think. Oh shit! I'm so sorry. It's my family. Then
Just never met him.
yeah. So then the son back then was in NS. So I was wondering like how like you must have saved a lot of money because she's wheelchair bound and she has arthritis and so her hand is constantly
Aiyo.
like mahjong ready. Like no dude, she has arthritis but she can play mahjong so fast. She's so fast. It's my father every time say her.
It's the
Okay.
beauty of the game, right? It brings out the best in
It
people.
really, yeah. Sportsmanship.
But can she win
No.
fast?
No, she's very good. But anyway, and so I found out how much is the price of her one-room flat. Your guess?
Per month,
800.
Per month.
$200.
She pays $60 a month. I mean, it's a rental.
That's your
rental.
water bill,
Oh.
yeah.
Not even water bill is less. Take the water bill, fam.
So I actually have the numbers here, right? Like if your monthly household income is 800 or less, right? For one room flat, it's between 26 to 33 bucks a month if it's your first time.
Any
Wait,
age.
but they don't own the house, right? It's a
They
rental.
don't hold it. That's the thing. So it
No, but they
doesn't.
stay there for years, lah. It's not like 6 months they put you out kind.
Right.
Yeah, but it doesn't contribute. So like with home ownership, right, and you pay installments on a loan, which is almost like rent. At the end of the day, you own an asset that you get to sell. And that really helps with social mobility in some regard.
So actually, I was a bit scared about this, right? Like this, all the spikes and everything. We have over 1,000 cases because someone tell me we're not enough hospital bed. So that's why all these ambulances are not coming anymore.
Yeah.
But then after that, when I went to Google, it turns out that I think there are about like, if I'm not wrong, please correct me. So there are like 1,000 plus people who are in hospital care, and 9,000 plus people are in these like community facilities. So we have a lot of hospital beds.
Right.
Like I think our hospital beds goes up of like tens of thousands kind of numbers lah.
Right.
Then I was like, oh, okay, so there I was a lot less.
But there's so many other sickness, lah.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, but specifically for this, there seems to be plenty of like hospital beds available.
Yeah. I feel like it's not so much hospital. So like when a friend of mine was exposed to someone who had COVID, right? And this was like maybe at the height of things like January or February, right? He straight away was phone called. He said, pack your bags, 1 hour, we're picking you up, we're sending you to a hotel. And so then like it felt like, wow, that was really like proper lah. Like I was really proud of the country and everything like that. I feel like, and this is just speculation, I feel like hotels are no longer being repurposed as, or fewer hotels are now being repurposed as.
And more are used as
Quarantine areas.
staycations.
Yeah, and so then it's not so much about hospitals, they're just fewer
Right,
of
okay,
these
okay.
isolation areas. in
Or
the
these are
hotels.
also taxpayers' money, lah.
That too.
Yeah.
So some people actually created a new Telegram group which is growing in numbers. I think last time I checked it was like a few hundreds, like 400, 500 people, right? It's called SG Quarantine Order Support Group.
Right.
Because according to the pamphlets and the infographics, right, the order of events now, because we are in a 80% vaccinated like society, is that if you kena COVID, someone will contact you and give you all the instructions. They will give you a little pack and then they will give you a step-by-step. So like by day 7, right, apparently you can get a PCR test, and if you're negative, right, by day 7, you're off the hook already.
Right.
But a couple of people have been covered in the news by saying that they have not received anything for like a few days already. It's like by day 7, they don't know whether they can go out for a PCR test or not because they're not allowed to leave the house. So
Right.
like who's supposed to come and pick them up? There's a lot of confusion. Another article that I saw on I think it was Channel News Asia, they covered 2 guys. One of them doesn't mind it. He's happy to stay at home because he has a 4-room flat. He basically sleeps in his master bedroom. His wife passes him food on the
Okay,
door.
okay.
He opens the door and then they are fine. But another guy lives in a 3-room flat because he has to isolate in the bedroom. His wife sleeps on the floor in the living room. And to them, it's like, I'd rather go to an isolation facility lah, because this is really inconvenient. Like now, she also has to create different arrangements with her work because she's also now a COVID exposed person.
Right.
And then she has to go and buy stuff for him because he can't leave the house. It's like, it's very inconvenient for a lot of people lah.
I think like there's a crux on, as a country, are we playing down the virus and then purposely feel like, oh, endemic means we just live with it like it's a flu.
Actually, didn't Jamus just say something about this? He said we are endemic, so we should rethink wearing masks.
Yeah, he wanted to stop wearing masks outdoors, right? Jamus, yeah.
I feel like that's a thing that opposition needs to do. Whether or not they really mean it, I think them exhausting to be opposition.
Opposition.
They also know they're not going to form government. They cannot just go there and support.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of the moves that the government make is like, it makes sense lah, you know what I mean? They just really need to find things. I also believe, I think Kelvin Ching or even the Critical Spectator mentioned that, what's the MP the PSP MP that talked about how S-Pass should be like $10,000.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, basically he's saying that he don't believe, right, that this MP genuinely thinks that it makes sense anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
But they just kind of need
They
to
have to be a
play
dissenting voice lah.
Leong Man Wai.
Leong Man Wai. They just kind of need to play to their fan base a bit that's feeling that frustration.
Right.
What the opposition is just a human suggestion box, essentially.
Correct.
And they have to go certain extremes so that they can hopefully get like
The
a
middle ground.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, but I feel like when I saw the article, I'm a bit scared. Yeah. Like, I don't think I feel secure when I go out into public and then like people not wearing their mask properly and all that. And why I'm scared is also because we are vaccinated, so we have less of the side effects. So then that
You
feels
don't know
like,
if
you don't know.
Yeah.
Then,
Huh,
so that's
but
what I'm
isn't
scared
it-
about.
Hasn't research already shown that the virus is damn hard to transmit the virus in like
Outdoor
outdoor
environment.
environments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then
And his
I'm in indoor environments.
No, his argument was that when you look at like people like cleaners and all that, and they don't have the excuse of doing a physical exercise
right.
or whatever, right? And then they're outside and then they have the mask on, it's so uncomfortable. There's higher chance that they will go back and in their storeroom or like office or whatever, and then they take out.
Yeah.
Which is more dangerous.
Correct.
Right.
So and
you
that's
agree
what
with?
I think a lot of people are doing it lah, to be honest.
I feel like there's if we juxtapose that to other restrictions that the country is lifting, for example, letting foreigners in or not a CB lah, right? I mean, there's a segment of Singaporeans calling for another circuit breaker, right? I think the trade-off's quite clearly. If you continue a circuit breaker, people lose their jobs, the economy tanks, Singapore lose global positioning. And global positioning is not something that's established over 1 year, 2 years. It's a decade or 2 decades worth. We lose our global positioning for the next 10, 20 years if we are the last one to open up or last few to open
Right.
up.
Yeah.
As opposed to this issue whereby you wear a mask and it makes them uncomfortable, right?
It's such a small thing lah.
But everything that they reduce, right, will create another layer of risk.
Yeah.
Like how not doing a CB will increase public outbreaks by like 40% maybe or 50%.
The ripple effect will be larger than you can anticipate.
Yeah, and this mask thing could be a small 1-2%.
Right.
Yeah.
But the effect to the overall population is just no need.
Yeah.
But it could happen at the same time, right? Why cannot?
Because every single thing I'm putting myself, if I have to make decisions on behalf of a country lah,
Yep.
right? There's a group of people that's very worried for their jobs and want the economy to open up. There's a group of people that's, especially the ones with children, that's very worried for their children and want the country to close down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you really have to manage both because they are both valid. It's easier when circuit breaker happened and the rest of the world locked down and then Singapore went into lockdown. It felt like a very popular and decisive decision, right?
Yeah.
But at this point, the rest of the world opened up. We are no longer the first few already. We are actually very, very behind in terms of opening up already. Yeah, and
It's crazy, yeah.
yeah, you look at that versus do we want to ease more so that a segment of population can be a bit more comfortable, right? I feel like that's an unpopular decision. Popular to half, unpopular to another half.
Right.
Yeah. Either way, you are popular with
So
certain
they're like
group.
stuck.
But so
either
for
way,
me,
you're
this is a
unpopular.
decision that I don't need to make.
Yeah.
For me, I believe just
No, I also think that the reason why they said everyone needs to wear masks everywhere, right, is just the ease of enforcement. Because like you know that everyone's supposed to wear masks. So then whoever is supposed to look for people that's not supposed to wear masks is like
Right. So it's the same as like
easier
you
lah.
can only sit 2 by 2 in hawker center.
yeah. Because I think the
Yeah.
problem is eating. We look at, especially during COVID, right, where at the height of it, where everyone did the mask experiment, they put it a mask and then they try and blow out a candle and then they cough. You put the candle here with a surgical mask, you still cannot blow out the candle. At least in the video, I never actually got to try it. Let's try it. Right? So it's really contained pretty well as long as you are wearing a good surgical mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the problem was with dining. Because when Singapore eased it and you could go to work, 50% of that stuff, the numbers didn't spike. It only spiked when you allow people to dine out, which is the one thing that we cannot.
Yeah.
Avoid lah. It's so hard to avoid eating.
But then, so now people's dissent is mostly about feeling like they're confused about what to do or that the government is not giving clear enough instructions on what to do, is it?
I think it's twofold. I think on one layer, right, it's that there's a sudden difference in approach. Early on, even at the start of the year, it felt like Singapore was very quick and decisive in clamping down on certain cases. Because I think it wasn't announced yet that we were going to treat this as endemic someday.
Right.
And so we're still trying to clamp down all the COVID cases. When they made the announcement somewhere mid-year that, okay, you know what, we're going to start looking at COVID-19 in an endemic way, we're going to start living with COVID-19, the approach to it was a little bit more relaxed as to how we isolate certain cases, right? And so I think on one level, it's that relaxedness approach of certain people out. Some cases that people mentioned in the Telegram group was that they are in a family.
Wait, are you in this Telegram group?
No, I'm not, but I saw screenshots.
She sent us the link to join. Right? Like, for what,
And so then I saw like how, I think there was a family of 6 of them, or family of 8, and then one of them was a positive case. And usually if you're in the same household as a positive case, you already get SMS that you need to go down and test and stuff like that, right? But I think it was one full day that they didn't hear anything at all. And that was the latest update that I saw. And like to them, it's like, what the fuck do I do? Like, because I have kids that are not vaccinated, that are in the household. So what do we do?
So then is it just the frustration comes because it feels like as much as this affects everybody's lives, right? It's being executed in a way where it's a bit sloppy. Like they didn't factor in a lot of
or
things.
it's bottlenecking lah.
Yeah.
Because
that sounds like
when like 1,000+ cases, as opposed
but
to
then they didn't consider this, man. They confirm have what?
No, but from how we went from, I think, 200 cases per day until now when we are 1,000+ a day, right? Like the amount of people who you need to contact also exponentially increases because each person
but
has
that projection should have been accounted for lah. At least if you are the government,
they did actually say
then
that it happened faster than they expected.
Right,
Actually,
right.
the number, if I'm not wrong lah, once again, I was quoting Minister West lah.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong, the number that I expected to see, right, is 3,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we hit 1,000 within
Yeah, we
2
didn't,
weeks.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was unforeseen.
Right.
Hitting this high was foreseen. Yeah, hitting this high in 2 weeks or 1 week plus was unforeseen.
So,
They didn't
so
ramp
if
up
that's
yet
the
lah.
case, then within the next month or two, we will see the government being able to facilitate for those kind of numbers lah. Since that
It's
is
hard to say
projected,
though,
right?
because in the past we could boost up the numbers really quickly because like military exercise were not happening. There was massive unemployment, so the government took in all those jobs.
Yeah.
those unemployed
Right.
people. But if those people manage to find gainful employment, no one wants to quit their job to do this, right? Even if you
Which
pay,
assuming that the government has done their job in all their COVID job
yeah,
support
so
schemes.
if you do well,
True.
if your job support schemes did well, then you don't. It's so hard to raise this manpower.
So the issue is that our government is too good.
They're victims.
It's not popular to have.
Are they a victim of their own success? I think will be.
You know, because if
interesting-
you like compare a lot of the issues that we have, right, like our bet, right, is other countries good.
No, I feel like
Yeah.
this is giving them an out. If you say that whatever programs those were successful, right?
Yeah.
But those are things that you either way have to consider when you're doing this other program, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
so it's not. I don't think it's an excuse lah.
No, I don't think anybody's doing excellent job lah. But everyone's figuring as it comes. Which
Yeah,
government
yeah,
did
yeah.
pandemic before?
Yeah. Right now, honestly, right, over the last week or two, I'm not saying I've been exposed to lah, but all around me, right, there are so many people that's like kena.
You know this person.
like
that knows-
ling,
You must
ling,
tell
ling,
us
yeah,
what
yeah.
this type of thing.
No, I'm not. But a lot of people around me. Then if I really think about it, and I do know some people that are not so honest about whatever, right?
Aiyo.
Then how many people are really exposed
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah.
And how disruptive would it be if we all fully adhered to the current rules?
So I actually kena 2 high-risk cases, right? Like I have 2 people that I was close contact with that are close contacts with the people who kena.
We got Denise to isolate, by the way.
Yeah, correct.
if
So
you're
what happened was that I just stayed at home like automatically. So I feel like then why are people angry? Because if is the rule of thumb then not to just stay at home.
wondering. Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
think.
but for some people they cannot afford to stay at home. Again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's right. Going back to this case also, right? Like we know that there's 1,000 cases, but these are the positive cases. So if they're in a household of 4, for example, right, 4,000 people are actually affected, and
Oh my
4,000
Lord.
people actually need to be contacted. So like according to the press releases or the information given by the government, there's supposed to be a home care buddy, a home recovery buddy that's supposed to contact you
Wow,
and
butchered it.
walk you through the entire process, right? But there needs to be 4,000 people to do this, or like maybe if you split like maybe
Divide.
2 each,
Yeah.
right? It's like 2,000 people to
Oh
walk
my
through
God.
all these different people. There's just not enough like.
And if the turnaround time is 1-2 days, I feel like it's fair lah. I should stay at home first lah.
Right.
I feel like there's a few things here, like the sense of crisis is completely gone. There is no thinking for yourself. We go back to when I brought up in Singapore, the rules are the limit. You know, 90 kilometer means drive at 90, not maximum 90. And I think back to what you said about the government being a victim of some of its successes, which is managed to create, wow, this is a shitty way to say it, an obedient population.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's
Which I
true
think it's
though.
great. It's so
I
decisive.
agree.
Go and get jab, stay at home, stay at home. Don't flood supermarket, we still flood supermarket. So obedient to a certain extent, right? But it's to the point whereby if you are worried, stay at home. Why you want to force the whole country to stay at home?
But then it becomes that like people who are flagrant, right? Like I think I read one article about this person that couldn't stop the COVID positive dad from going out of the house.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if all these people don't care, then why should I be suffering for other people who are being selfish? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm scared, but then should I stay at home and then like we talked about just now, some people cannot stay at home, right? Why should I be suffering because someone else is like bending the rules or what?
Yeah.
As opposed to what, though?
As opposed to the government quickly contact them and get them out of the areas where everyone else is.
Because if let's say then we close down the country, right? Let's say, so I mean the only pro I could see is that if we do another CB, we could possibly eradicate.
But then
Because anything short of eradication is today.
It's going to lead back to the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rinse and repeat of today. So has any country in the world managed to eradicate?
So then as
North
a
Korea
like
only,
singular 1010. So like, as a singular person, say for example now, like if I'm waiting for something or what, like what can I do? Like what should I be doing then at this point?
as in if you are exposed or as just a
So I guess my
Obligation
question
of
didn't make sense.
Nah, I guess it's just stay at home,
Yeah,
right? If you're
yeah.
waiting for instructions, stay at home. I guess it's frustrating. You might need to wait a while because it takes time. There's a lot of us.
Yeah.
Then stay at home. I say use your
Okay,
brain
okay.
Because I feel like
Use your brain, use your brain. use your brain.
Join the support group.
in like Malaysia,
Yeah.
for example, I have a friend over there. I mean, one of my friends over there, right? Like some imposter. The rest like,
Yeah.
like one of my friends over there she's Singaporean. She married Malaysian, and she's just staying there. And like the case counts got crazy, like 5 figures
Yeah.
daily, like months ago, and the government say want to clamp down. Then because political struggle, then they say open. Then open. The person that say open, right, would win the the battle of politics land.
Yep. Yep.
Then when they take charge, then they realize we should close. And close. Then another power struggle happens. Then it becomes open again. So it's to the point whereby last week they were discussing how our numbers were crazy, and then the next week is that we are going to open for tourists to come in without quarantine. Stuff like that. Like I mean, maybe I got the things a bit wrong, but that's the level of coordination
Yep.
that's happening
In our
like a stone
neighbours.
throw in that sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, shit
Whereas here
government.
is that you're waiting a couple of days lah. You're waiting a couple of days for someone to contact you.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you don't have the next step to do, you know your step for the next 7 days is to isolate, right? Isolate lah.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. I think it's the
To an
uncertainty because you can get very anxious. I remember coming back from the UK in March 2020 and obviously like they had such a huge number of cases, right? I came back straight away, they tested me. I didn't hear back for 3 days, right? And I was like out of my mind. I was going crazy because I'm like stuck in my room. I don't know whether I can see anybody. In the end, right, I realized after I checked my app, right, they actually had the results the day of my testing. They just could only call me 3 days after. Which I mean, I don't know who to blame lah. Like at the end of the day, it's negative and it was fine lah.
Okay.
I think for this one, it's just that if you live in a household where there's 4 people and everyone's sharing rooms, and then people have to like live outside or like live in the living room, and then they also have to isolate technically from their other friends, then it gets a little bit confusing.
But
for a
where
lot of
then is
people.
the personal responsibility in this? If you are sick, you are hungover, if you have some form of terminal illness, there is a level of personal responsibility. What? Even if it's genes passed down from your grandparents to you, like you did nothing, but there's a personal responsibility that's linked up to your own family tree lah. Do you expect now that your cancer treatment is free? Why then do you expect taxpayers to ramp up hiring so that they can contact you quickly, so that they can tell you next step and assure you?
Right.
Like I
Fair.
feel like the expectations is. I mean, I understand the anxiety when you get in, you don't know what to do. I haven't kena yet. Maybe I will kena the anxiety also, right? But now where I haven't kena, I can think with a clearer head, right? Where is the expectation for any other disease of what's
Fair.
next?
Okay.
The personal responsibility in COVID, right? Like if you feel like you get COVID and it's the public's fault because the
Public
government
give you
allow
a-
y'all to go out,
Right, right.
so you kena. Then I feel like at the end of the day, where's the personal responsibility in? Do you still touch the front of your mask? Because you're not supposed to. Right? Did you keep your mask on at all times? Did you try to eat at home and away and secluded from everybody as much as possible? Do you only hold this? Do you still go home and scrub all the way to your shoulders? Do you go home and shower and take out your clothes immediately? Because if you don't do that, then there's personal responsibility in how you got COVID now. Unless a civil servant come and cough into your mouth, I feel like that's another problem. Yeah.
Only then. Only
Right?
then you
Even
get the
if
right.
not, then I feel like there's a personal responsibility
Right.
involved and,
Yeah.
and people are not seeing that at all.
Right. That's a good point.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you watch, remember to drop us a sub and hit that like button as well. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Like.